You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? It's your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles. Louis DiBiase joining you alongside my co-host, Gino Camilleri. It is a Wednesday edition of the show, guys. Episode number 3 of 5. Download it into your phone wherever you get your podcast. We're available on Apple, Odyssey, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, you name it. Also on YouTube now, Monday through Friday, posting all our daily full episodes on YouTube as well as YouTube Shorts. And Gino, we had a good one yesterday getting into it about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside making the team. So guys, subscribe to YouTube, to the podcast feeds. The season is less than 2 weeks away, and we've got you covered right here on Locked On Eagles. Coming up on today's edition of the show, Gino and I are going to get into the tight end position. Zach Ertz had some really interesting things to say in his first press conference of the summer with the media. There was also a rumor about a potential Dallas Goedert trade we'll get into. That's coming up on this edition of Locked On Eagles. But guys, before we start things off, I want to tell you that the NFL season obviously is about to begin, and nobody covers it like the Locked On Podcast Network. August 30th through September 8th, Locked On's Ultimate Season Preview is taking you through every team and every division with the help of Odyssey's Ross Tucker and Jason Lockenfora. Follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast to tune in. It was beginning on August 30th, and it runs until September 8th with the season opener, Gino, starting September 9th between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. You've got your Oregon Ducks hat on now. College football is underway. It's football season, baby.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Big game against Fresno State. Just got a brand new TV that looks beautiful for football season. I'm roaring and ready to go. And it is September 1st. We are officially in the first month of the football season and regular season NFL football. I think we're all excited for this. I'm ready to renew my DirecTV, ready to get the Sunday ticket, ready to get the red zone. I'm ready to just sit in front of my TV on the weekends, doing absolutely nothing, having 3 TVs, a laptop, my phone going with all the scores. I'm just ready for it, Lou. We're through the dead season, into the mix of things. We're starting to get the people watching our stuff on YouTube, which we appreciate. The numbers are going up on the podcast. This is the time of the year that we're all excited for, and keep up the engagement. We love that, and we just love that we get to talk to everybody every day of the week. I think we're just like the most interactive, that we can have this platform that we can talk about what happened a couple hours ago and people react to it. And in this day and age, especially in the Philadelphia Eagles media, people always want to react to what's going on here in the news.
Yeah, there's always something interesting to talk about, man. Even
Always.
last year was the most miserable season for me in my 24 years watching the Eagles, and that's even compared to 2012, 2015. And yet at the same time, like it was okay because me and you, like 5 days a week on here, it's so much interesting things to talk about. And although it was in a negative light a lot of the time with how bad the team was, it was still so fun to speculate and discuss all this crazy news and turnover and interact with the fans. So yeah, I cannot wait to get this 2021 season rolling, even with lower expectations. It kind of is a relaxing feeling, as we talked about last week. And again, there's always news. And Gino, today the news was really centered around the tight end position. After yesterday, the Eagles got down to their initial 53-man roster. We talked about tight end because they went a little bit heavy there, keeping 4. And we speculated, like, okay, once they move Tyree Jackson to the injured reserve, are they going to bring back Richard Rodgers and keep a 4th tight end? Because Zach Ertz could potentially be traded this season. But then you hear Zach Ertz talk today. You see some rumors across the Eagles media circles on Twitter, and it kind of got us thinking about tight end a little bit specifically. Like, we know who's going to be on the roster, but we don't really know who tight end 1 is, and we don't really know the long-term plans. And Zach Ertz today had some interesting things to say in his first public address to the media, really since all the trade rumors this offseason. And here are a couple quotes I just wanted to read before we discuss. And Zach Ertz today said, quote, "This is the place I want to be. This is the place I want to retire. I'm moving on from everything that happened this offseason. There have been apologies. He also said that things have been mended with the team. And then he also made a point of staying quiet this offseason, saying that he was instructing his agent not to leak anything or try to ruffle feathers or force his way out. He said he's always wanted to end his career in Philadelphia. And then the specific quote that I liked was, quote, "I love this city too much to burn it down like some people wanted me to," which was really interesting. And Gino, I'll just say off the bat, like reporters were saying all day, I mean, Zach Ertz really is a class act. And I just think, I don't know, I gained a lot of respect for him in 2020, even though it was the worst year of his career. So many guys would have, after 2019, after having that run he had in 2017, 2018, and 2019, to not get the contract, there would have been a lot of guys that held out. And then Zach Ertz played, right? He did the team-friendly thing, and then he had his value completely tanked, and yet still didn't really cause a scene. And then even this offseason, when the Eagles were kind of bullish on his value, he still really didn't make a scene. So I don't know. I kind of gained, I mean, not that I didn't have respect for Zach Ertz before, but today was an impressive day, and I'm like, hats off to 86.
Yeah, I think, and it's well documented on this show, that I've given Zach Ertz a little bit harder time than you have, and it came down to last offseason when that whole thing leaked that he wanted to get a new contract with 2 years remaining on his deal, and that was out in the media. And what he said today was a complete 180, and how I believe he could have handled it in the first place. And now we're here again, and it really did seem genuine that things kind of have mended themselves in Philadelphia. And I don't believe that people would say that with Howie Roseman. Like, people either hate him or they like him or stand him at least. So if you didn't say things were mended, I believe things weren't really mended in the first place. But I believe what he said today. I believe that the way he's going about this is how you could potentially get a third contract here in Philadelphia. Go about your business. Be the leader in the locker room for those young guys. That quote he said about that, he literally said, "I enjoy helping out the young guys." And that's what you want at a position where Dallas Goedert has all the potential in the world, and who better to continue to mold that relationship like Selleck and Ertz had for so long, and just do that with Ertz and Goddard. Yep. And now you have a young room and a guy in Tyree Jackson, who this team is very high on, and Jack Stoll, who they kept on the roster. This is a perfect opportunity for Zach Ertz to prove his worth. And I think he's done it, Lou. I think his actions have spoke way louder than his words this year, and that's how he should, and I think every player should go about it. Don't burn bridges on your team, especially when they have treated him well. They've paid him respectfully well, and I think they've done a good job of catering to that position, and they've paid the tight end position rather importantly, as opposed to many other teams around the league. You might look at 4 or 5 other guys in that similar pay range, and at the end of the day, when you see his career earnings, I guarantee he'll be towards the top of tight ends. And hey, if he continues to do what he's doing, Lou, and he comes back healthy, that ankle's healthy, and he is able to continue to be the route runner he shows a little bit more juice in his game. Hey, what's the chances that you could get a 2 or 3 year deal out of him? It's possible, but then you have the Dallas Goedert question. So here we are again, and that's a whole nother debate.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. Oh, we'll definitely get into it on this episode. And Gino, before we get into that, though, we did have a discussion about this in May, back when there was the report Ertz did want out. And I feel like, I don't know, I totally saw both sides. I understand why the Eagles didn't want to invest money in Ertz. He, to me, wasn't the style of tight end that was worth paying like a wide receiver one. The contracts that Travis Kelce got and George Kittle. And then when you have an asset like Dallas Goedert there as well, there was just no reason to make that deal. He had 2 years on his contract. The Eagles had all the leverage, and they didn't need to give him an extension, despite how great he has been for this organization. One of the best to ever do it, to me, in NFL history. One of the best tight ends ever. But I also got it from Zach Ertz's perspective, too. It's like he saw the other 2 guys that were in his tier at tight end get those massive paydays, and he wanted to get paid, too, after 3 incredible seasons. And then, again, he still played in 2020, and his value kind of tanked. So I really saw it from both sides, and the fact that Ertz did not, after last year, kind of ruffle feathers like he alluded to, is just, again, hats off to him, and it speaks volumes about the kind of player he is. But I also think a part of it is, too, Gino, I think that he's realizing he's not going to get the Travis Kelce deal. He's not going to get the George Kittle deal,
Yes.
especially after last year. So he might as well, to me, I'm thinking his mindset.
If he realized that in the first place, I don't think this would have ever been
But I understand why he would have wanted that deal after the run he had from 2017 to 2019.
Totally.
Like his numbers were as good, if not better than Kittle and Kelce. But now I think he's realizing that's not happening. So might as well.
It's a completely different position today. Yeah, exactly. Right. And
because why go to Tennessee? I mean, you're not going to get that deal.
Right.
And you go to where in Philly, you're a legend still. You're 28 catches away from breaking the all-time reception record. At this point now, the money's gone. So now you have to kind of reset your priorities. And I think Ertz is now more going more for the legend, if you will, kind of like Brandon Graham, where he wants to finish with one team.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well, Lou. And you look at the defensive end position, they kind of have favored that position as well. And you look at tight end, where they are very loyal to their tight ends. I mean, Selleck was here forever. We love Chad Lewis on this show as well. And they put a high priority into having their guy, which might not be the same type of player as a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. In the NBA, you need role players. You need that guy that in the corner, every time you give him the ball, you know he's going to drain that three. Zach Ertz is a guy on 3rd and 8. You need to pick up some yardage. You're going to hit him. If he can realize that, but understand that he's not in that tier, but under the tier below, then I think he has a better argument to say, okay, you could compare me to tight end 3, 4, and 5. I have better numbers than those guys, then we can negotiate from there, because you have to identify the tiers. It's just like when you're drafting. You're not going to take a tier 1 guy or a tier 2 guy when you have a tier 1 guy on the board. And you're not going to pay a tier 2 guy like a tier 1 guy, because that's how you get into cap room hell. That's just what happens in the NFL. And you're sitting here today, Zach Ertz, already on 2 contracts. In Philadelphia, it is rare that 3 contracts are ever given out. And now you're in this position to, if you understand where you are in your career, have more leverage. Because I believe after what he said today, the leverage is back in Zach Ertz's hands, because things are mended. And if they can work things out, he's either going to negotiate a trade to somewhere where he can get a deal, or he's going to be in the good graces of Howie Roseman and somebody who pays his loyal players, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, would be willing to do that. I fully believe that. And I think you're now in a position where you have smoldered the flame and things are back to normal. I'm
fascinated, Gino, to see what they're going to do with tight end this year with Goddard and Ertz both needing new contracts. And after the rumor today, I want to get into it, what their plans are at tight end long-term beyond 2021. And we'll get into that coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
And if you want to get more involved in the game of football, go to betonline.ag. It's that time of year again, and eyes are now turning to the gridiron, and teams are back on that luscious green grass. Or if you're a Boise fan, they're a blue turf. Or if you're a Coastal fan, that teal turf that they have as well, which is wicked to watch a game on. As always, BetOnline is your number 1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest. Open now at BetOnline. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo, where you make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. If you lose your wager, you will be refunded up to $25. So if you do bet on the Dallas Cowboys, you will get your wager back.
That's right.
For new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports, from football, basketball, boxing, right to your Vegas casino games that you love. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available in the 2021 season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts, use the promo code LOCKEDON at BetOnline to get that 100% welcome bonus.
Guys, I also want to talk to you about Direct TV Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all of that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called Direct TV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract, so get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Direct TV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible devices required. Content varies per package. All right, Eagles fans, welcome back into this Wednesday edition of Locked On Eagles. Louis DiBiase alongside Gino Camilleri. We are getting into the tight end position. Zach Ertz sounded like a guy that wants to be in Philadelphia for the remainder of his career today. But at the same time, Gino, this team has invested in Dallas Goedert. He's a guy that is 5 years younger. He is a player that from the jump in 2018 was already a better blocker than Zach Ertz. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. He's one of the best run after the catch tight ends already in the league. PFF grades him time and time again as a top 5 tight end. They did it again this offseason. So it's a fascinating conversation about like, who is the guy long-term? Because it's not like Zach Ertz is super old. He's only 30, and his style could age well, right? He is not the run after the catch type of player. And then you see the report today that John McMullen says the Eagles and the Vikings talked about a Dallas Goedert trade. I don't think it's probably more the Vikings inquiring about Goddard. But would they do that, Gino? I don't know. I mean, you'd probably get more for Goddard. And like I said, Ertz's style can age well. But I don't know. I think it'd be crazy to choose, as good as Ertz still is and as great as he's been for this team, with the way this timeline is going with the long-term rebuild and the style of tight end the NFL wants now, to me, it's still got to be Goddard you invest in.
So if you take your history books and open them to 2016, there was a player on this roster named Sam Bradford. There was a situation in Minnesota where a quarterback named Teddy Bridgewater, who are big favorites of Lou and I,
that's right,
broke his leg in a not great fashion, and they had a huge hole at quarterback. Howie Roseman called up his good friend in Minnesota, got a first and a fourth. The other day, Irv Smith, the tight end of the Minnesota Vikings, was reported that he will be out for quite some time. So Howie Roseman might have thought, hey, history repeats itself all the time. Let me call up Minnesota. Let me see if I could get more value for this player than I could anywhere else. Because if you were to get maybe a potential first-round pick in the equation or a second plus, then he might have been willing to move him. But I just think that is the circumstance with what Minnesota have. I don't think they were calling around to other teams, seeing if they could unload Dallas Goedert. I think it was, can we be in this right situation to maybe get rich quick on Dallas Goedert, and then we have money to push towards Zach Ertz. But now you're kind of in a win-win situation because you have two guys that realistically you can sign. And I don't know if you could sign both of them at this.
Gino, because I understand personnel. Like the majority of the time.
for sure. I don't either. It's going to be a big need for a young quarterback to have a reliable tight end. And we get to the reliability portion. Is Dallas Goedert always on the field? That is a part of his game that we know he is banged up from time to time, and it comes with the way that he likes to play. Zach Ertz the same type of way. But how I look at it is, you're either going to go forward with Dallas Goedert, who's a younger, better option. You're going to find a way to go forward with both because you have cheap guys on rookie deals on that offensive side of the ball, which I don't think is likely. Or you now have the leverage again that if both of these guys are playing well, and let's say the middle of October comes and Buffalo needs a tight end, like they're only a tight end away from competing, then we can have those discussions. Because if you realize that you don't have the money to sign Zach Ertz, what's the most you're going to get? A third-round comp pick, maybe? If you're going to sign all these guys with all this free agent money, I wouldn't even count on it. So why not get something out of one of those players before the deadline is up? The question is, who do we move forward with?
Question.
That is the question. I take Dallas Goedert. I believe Dallas Goedert is that guy. And I believe that type of tight end is becoming more common in today's game, where you could kind of, like running backs almost, like you could kind of find these like receiving type guys like Logan Thomas's. They come out of nowhere. A Tyree Jackson, for example, all of a sudden he's learning the game and can go in there. Jack Stoll. I got to figure out how to pronounce that.
I know, me too.
Stall or stole.
It's like
if there's no,
I say Stall.
Stole would be stole. So
It reminds me of
English language
Carlton Agadosi back in the day.
that was a great
Or
name.
Ifeanyi Moma.
Yes.
Just names I could not get.
Man, that was the guy. He was in Arizona for a while, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. But getting back to that tight end position, at the end of the day, Lou, we talk about how much they like to invest draft capital and priority money into offense and defensive line. I look at tight end, and they've kind of done that same thing when you look at it. Like going into the Super Bowl season, you have Ertz, you have Selleck, you have Burton on that team. 2018, you have Ertz and Goddard. And then you bring in Richard Rodgers the next year, and you're kind of always supplying it. They signed Noah Togiai for the most amount of money in that period last year. He ended up getting picked up by Indianapolis, and then you turn around and do the same thing with Jack Stoll. They understand that a tight end is an extension of the offensive line, as well as an extension of the running game, as well as an extension of the wide receiver position. So if you could find a top-notch player and multiple top-notch players there, Lou, that's only going to make your job as an offensive coordinator that much easier.
Yeah, it's invaluable, and it's huge they're the best friends of a young quarterback, and when you're trying to develop 1,000%. A guy's passing game like Jalen Hurts, having Goddard and Ertz is so incredibly
Even
valuable.
Just for this year, I think it would be valuable. Like just
it's
one
just
year of that, I think it could work.
I think it's going to be for half a year because, like you said, one of them is going to get moved. The question is more so because, again, I don't think you could pay both. I don't think you should either. I don't want to be a 12-personnel team more than 50% of the time. And I feel like if you pay both,
they're not going to keep those receivers off the field.
So the question more so is who is going to be the guy that gets moved. And again, there are arguments to both sides. I am team Dallas Goedert. He's 5 years younger. He does things better than Ertz that I value in that position. In the modern day NFL offense. And to me, that just makes more sense for what the team wants right now in the rebuild. But at the same time, if you can get more for Goddard, Zach Ertz could be cheaper contract-wise right now. He is only 30 years old still. So it's a great luxury, honestly, to have. But I'm still on Team Goddard. And although, let me just preface this by saying as well, although Dallas Goedert was in these trade rumors today, Gino, they also were talking about a contract extension with him during the summer.
Like I said, I think it was just because they had a team that they could have that mouse could have went into that mouse trap and they could have got him, but I don't believe that he's actively trying to shop Dallas Goedert because, like you said, Lou, they were talking numbers just a few months ago. So I believe that's still the case. And Howie Roseman is always turning over those rocks to see what the value is for everybody.
The timing is intriguing, though, man. When you see what Ertz said today and then you see the trade report today, that is intriguing.
Dude, we've covered this team and we've done it on this show for 3 years. I've followed the team for 20. Anything could happen at any given day, and I'd say, okay, I believe
they package Dallas Goedert in a trade, I'd be like,
it happened. It's another day in Philadelphia, man. We saw Carson Wentz get moved. We saw Donovan McNabb get moved. I'm just so used to it at this point.
And then when they traded McNabb and they started Kevin Cobb, they pulled the plug in half a game for Michael Vick. That's being a Philadelphia Eagle fan, guys, 100%. And we've got you covered on this damn team all week long, Monday through Friday. And guys, these episodes are always sponsored by the best tasting protein bar on the planet. It's Built Bar. It's basically a candy bar in protein bar form, covered in 100% chocolate, soft and easy to chew, and there's 9 delicious flavors for everybody. If you like coconut, we've got coconut and coconut almond, cherry, raspberry, mint brownie. That's Gino's go-to. I like peanut butter brownie. They've got double chocolate, salted caramel, something for everybody, and it's healthy. 17 grams of protein, only 130 calories, and only 4 grams of sugar. I can get you 15% off your first order at BuiltBar.com today when you use our promo code LOCKED15. That's all capital letters, LOCKED15. And again, you're going to get 15% off your first order of easily the best tasting protein bar on the planet. It's Built Bar, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. All right, Eagles fans, welcome back into this final segment of a Wednesday edition of your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles. Louis DiBiase, Gino Camilleri, getting into who is tight end one for the future. Is it Dallas Goedert? Is it Zach Ertz? Ertz said today he wants to finish his career in Philly. The Eagles have talked contract extension with Goddard this year, but at the same time, there was a report today they've talked with the Vikings about a potential trade for Goddard. In the end, Gino, what is the end result for you? Like, what is the ideal scenario you want at tight end after, I'll say, the NFL trade deadline this year, week 8?
I think what they have now, and this is going to be if people get this metaphor, it's a Star Wars metaphor. It's almost like the Sith. Like the Sith, they have the order of 2. There's only 2 Sith at one time. I believe that the Eagles tight end, it's like the order of 3. Your number 1 guy, your number 2 who's learning, and your number 3 who's eligible in the pass game, who has a lot to develop. After that trade deadline, I think you follow that same exact formula. You have your number 1 guy, either Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert. You have your number 2 guy, and if you bring back Richard Rodgers, let's say, for example, after that time period, or Tyree Jackson comes back healthy, he could potentially play that role, or they could sign a veteran off the street, not name Richard Rodgers, to fill that role. And then number 3, either Jack Stoll or you drop Tyree Jackson down there, and you follow that order of 3. I think it's a very successful way to help mold guys and help grow them through the struggles at tight end, which to learn to block and catch and also help out in the run game, it's a lot to learn, especially for a young kid. Like, you need somebody there for guidance. So follow that formula where you have 1 proven guy up top. Number 2 can be there to block. He could be there in the pass game as well. And then number 3, he's like that converted wide receiver, running back type, small, like thinner frame guy that is good in the pass game and then can develop his blocking game as well. And I don't know what the final formula will be when it's all said and done at the end of the year on the 53, but just like they have at quarterback where they put a number 2 that is a good insurance policy behind the number 1, I think that same exact formula that they're doing at tight end that they have in the past, like, continue to follow that. It has worked, and that's one position I don't think we can really complain about in the past couple years here, Lou. Like, they've carried this team for what, since 20. I mean,
even with McNabb, man. I mean,
plays in the Super Bowl. I mean,
and even with Donovan McNabb, they had Chad Lewis and LJ Smith as more reliable targets than the receivers. So I don't know. For me, the ideal scenario is, I think, let Zach Ertz break the all-time receptions record the first 8 weeks of the season, raise that value, allow him to help develop Jalen Hurts' game as a passer inside the pocket, over the middle of the field. That's something Hurts has got to work on. Zach Ertz is perfect for that. And then move him for a day 2 pick to the Baltimore Ravens or Green Bay Packers. Those teams were interested last year. Like you said, the Buffalo Bills, or just a playoff-ready team. I think that's the ideal scenario for me. I want to prioritize Dallas Goedert. I want to invest in him, and I don't want to invest in both of these players. As good and as reliable as they've been for Carson Wentz and now for Jalen Hurts, I want to be an 11 personnel team. I want these targets to go to Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins, the young running backs. To me, that's the ideal scenario that I'm looking for. But at the same time, it's a luxury. And if you could get a second, I doubt you would get a second round pick for Dallas Goedert, but if you could do that, then I'm not going to be totally upset that a 30-year-old Zach Ertz is still here. That you could still get a whole nother 4-year contract out of him. But it'll be, again, it's fascinating. And I think you're really I can't wait, Gino, to see what they do when they're not in 12 personnel this year. Because you didn't really see it in the preseason a whole lot. But we'll start to get an idea of what their tight end plan is long-term, I think, based on what they do the first 8 weeks of the season. Because, like, in 11 personnel, is it going to be Zach Ertz still over Dallas Goedert? If you plan on extending Dallas Goedert long-term, then he's got to be the starter, like, right away now. Right. Or you're going to piss him off. And he's already said this offseason he wants to be the guy. So I can't wait to see starting week 1 how they rotate these two in and out when they're both not on the field together.
Having a lot of weapons, not a bad thing to complain about.
For sure.
But I am there with you. I think Jeffrey Lurie is there with you, that he doesn't want to be a 12-personnel team either. And I think he made that clear in what his message was.
Compact.
No. You spread to gain yards. I mean, there's a reason you look at this trend towards air raid in college and the idea of spacing and the idea of athleticism. Anyway. Oh, 100%. I mean, who in their right mind would rather watch a Big Ten 10-3 game where it's a defensive hold for the longest time, or a 73-70 Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma, or Oklahoma and Oklahoma State? Give me the 70-73 game any way of the week. I want my team to have 3 guys that go over 1,000 yards in the air, a guy who goes over 1,000 yards on the ground. Your quarterbacks up near 3,500 to 4,000 yards, maybe even more. That's the wave of the future, Lou. It's not dink and dunk. Like, you're not going to be able to come back in games. The NBA is fast-paced. The NHL is fast-paced. The NFL is fast-paced. Sports are a fast-paced game. You got to have speed. And as much as you got to have a good tight end, you got to have guys outside that can open up things for that tight end to operate underneath.
Absolutely, and I want the tight end that has speed, and right now that's Dallas Goedert, but we'll continue to monitor what happens here at tight end throughout the season. Make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Eagles podcast on any podcast platform, also on YouTube as well. All our shows are on YouTube Monday through Friday. We're also posting separate videos on our page that you can't get on the audio feed. So again, that's why you got to subscribe to both the audio and the video on your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles. And we're always talking birds on Twitter as well, guys. We're everywhere at GC24_football, at DiBiase LOE, and at Locked On Birds. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.